guys, it's Olivia and welcome back to Live in Literature. Thank you so much for all the love and support I received my last video, and if you have not seen it yet, feel free to head over to my channel to check it out. Well guys, before we get into today's video, I just want to acknowledge and address the very exciting news that we've reached 700 subscribers. I'm so excited. I cannot even believe it. You guys, we got to 700 so fast. This is so exciting. I just want to thank you all so much for subscribing. If you're new here, if you're old here, if you've been here since the beginning, if you just arrived today, thank you so much for watching this channel. It means the absolute most to me. And so you guys all know what that means. If you're a longtime subscriber, you know that a giveaway is coming. So this is going to be a 2-book giveaway plus a cute book bag tote. I will be shipping that out to the winner. The link is going to be in the description of this video, okay? The link will be in the description. All you have to do is fill out the Google form and answer a couple of questions. It'll have like your name, your address. Well, no, it'll have your name and your email, what books you would like, or if you would like me to pick the books for you, like as a surprise. So again, I want to give a huge thank you to all of you guys so much. I'm so excited for this giveaway. Again, the giveaway is being announced in this video, so click the link to enter the giveaway, and by next video upload, which will be next Saturday, I will have picked a winner and I will have emailed them to let them know that they've won, and I will announce it in the next video. So you guys have 1 week to enter the giveaway, okay? 1 week to enter, so please enter as soon as possible. Let me know what 2 books you would want, and I will select a book bag tote of my choosing for you or said person. Maybe I'll ask a little bit about you to see what you like so I can pick one specifically for you. I'm so excited for this giveaway. It's going to be so fun. And again, a massive thank you to all of you for following this channel and for supporting me. I love you all so much. Thanks so much for doing that. Now, on to the video. Today's video, as you have seen from the title, is we are doing the Booktok 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 book challenge, which essentially means on Booktok, I've been seeing this challenge go around. People will list five of their favorite books, 4 books currently on their TBR, 3 books they always recommend, 2 books they've given recent 5-star reads to, and the book they're currently reading. And I thought this would just be a good way to like update you guys on some of my tastes, the things I've been reading, the things I always recommend, and just some like, honestly, anything that I'm going to recommend in here today will probably be something that I genuinely like and genuinely enjoy. And so if you're someone who follows this channel and has a similar taste of books to me, you will enjoy the things I'm going to be recommending to you. And these are all things, like these are all books, at least today, the books that are in front of me are going to be books that I recommend with my full heart. I give my stamp of approval. Most, if not all of these are going to be 5-star reads for me, like absolutely wonderful, absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to show them to you guys. So let's get into Booktok 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 challenge. Let's go.
Challenge accepted.
First, we're going to start off with the 5 books, 5 of my favorite books. Now, these are in no particular order or genre. I will say that most are fantasy, but we're going to start off with the one that's different. We have a historical fiction called Where the Lost Wander. I'm not kidding you guys. This might be my favorite book of all time. Now, the challenge did say I didn't have to pick my like top 5 favorite books I've ever read. I've been trying to kind of curate a list for a future video of like what are my favorite books I've ever read, but regardless of that, this book would be on that list. This book would absolutely be on that list. It might even be my favorite book I've ever read, ever, which is a crazy thing to say.
Gonna psychoanalyze you. He gonna think your ass is crazy.
Because I'm an SJM girl, and all I do is talk about how much I love SJM and Daddy Rowan Whitethorn. But this book, Where the Lost Wander, might be my favorite book ever read. This book is by Amy Harmon. It is essentially an 1850s Oregon Trail style book. It's a romance. It's like crossing the American plains. It's a caravan of people. There's a young woman and a family, and they're traveling across the plains. She meets a young man named John Lowry. They fall in love, but like tumultuous things happen on the plains. This book is just absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's so well written. And if you're looking for something to spice up your book TBR and you want to do something like that's different than what you're normally reading, I highly recommend this historical fiction. It's easy to read, but also poetically written. It has a beautiful message in it, and like that's really what I think it is. And I kid you not, like every time I go back and reread this book, which I do often, I do frequently, I cry. Every freaking time I cry my eyes out reading this book. Like, it means the most to me. Like, I will cry every time I read it. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful. I highly recommend. Next book, and obviously all of you who have been here since at least the beginning of this year know I'm going to be recommending this one. Honestly, one of my favorite books of all time, Serpents and the Wings of Night. Cannot go wrong with the Crowns of Naxia series. Like, are you actually kidding me? Book 1 of the Nightborn Duet by Carissa Broadbent. The Serpents and the Wings of Night. I'm absolutely obsessed. Obviously, as most of you know, I'm in my vampire era this year. Vampires are it for me. And Serpents of the Wings of Night accomplishes that. It is bad A female MC meets mysterious but also cunning and a sexy vampire man. They have to compete in a thing together in this like Kajari, which is essentially like a battle to like win this massive prize at the end, which will be a wish granted. And like Oriah and Rain, the two have to like team up and like work together, even though they're like sworn enemies. Massive tension, massive enemies to lovers. So dark, so edgy. I cannot recommend it enough. Moving on to one I will always recommend is the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. A Darker Shade of Magic is flawless. V.E. Schwab is flawless. There's nothing wrong with her writing. Her writing is absolute perfection. If you're looking for a true, well-written fantasy, each book in this trilogy is perfection and creates a full story that is comprehensive, beautiful, fun to follow, and characters that are so intriguing and fun to read about. This is the trilogy for you. Essentially, we have a fantasy world set in 4 different Londons, like the city of London are in 4 different like dimensions, essentially. We've got red London, white London, gray London, and black London. And each of the Londons has like different powers within. We have Kel, who is a magician, essentially, who can travel between the different Londons as a like, he has magic, whatever. He can travel between the different Londons. Anyways, things go awry when he enters and he does things in the other Londons that he shouldn't. But this book, seriously, cannot recommend the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy enough. It is always a win for me. One of my favorite of all time books, and I seriously cannot believe we haven't even talked about this one yet. It's Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I'm telling you guys, Divine Rivals came out and the world stopped forever. Divine Rivals came out and guess what? Book world was changed forever for books in academia. I would even consider this dark. I would consider this like a little bit of dark academia, but very subtle. It's not like super dark. It's more just like academia books. But regardless, I love the academia genre. I love reading about it. And this one gives all the feels. It's almost like, it feels like, it has the feel of a 1940s, like World War II romance, like historical fiction romance novel, but is actually set in like a fantasy world, but still with like all the conveniences of a like 1940s like esque world. Again, absolutely flawless. 2 rival journalists going at it, trying to be the best in their company. Iris, the main journalist, goes away off to the war front and her rival Roman Kit follows her to like essentially because, well, things are heating up. Again, I cannot recommend Divine Rivals enough. It is one of my absolute most favorite books of all time. I seriously love it. It is flawless. And of course, last but not freaking least of like 5 books that are my favorite. Let's be real. We all knew it was coming. We knew we were going to talk about her anyway. It is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now, Throne of freaking Glass. Obviously, we know I am Throne of Glass obsessed. It's the best book series of all time. Specifically, I was going to say for this list, I would specifically say Empire of Storms is my favorite book, like, of the series. But Throne of Glass, the series as a whole, I'm including the entire series in this 5-book favorites thing. I'm telling you, Throne of Glass is a perfect series. It is the greatest fantasy series of all time. Sarah J. Maas is the single greatest fantasy writer to exist on the planet Earth right now. I say that with a straight face, period, at the end. I literally, I believe it with my whole heart. I think she is so talented. I think that everything she writes is pure gold, except for House of Flame and Shadow, but we have other things about that. I truly adore this woman, and I adore this series more than I adore anything in my entire life. This channel wouldn't even be here without Throne of Glass. So seriously, go read Throne of Glass. If you haven't read Throne of Glass, you are denying yourself the single greatest experience of all time. Love this series. Next, moving on to 4 books that are currently on my TBR. I'm going to start with 2 of the books that I currently don't own in my possession. The first one is Spark of the Everflame by Penn A. Cole, I think, or it's just Penn Cole. I have heard nothing but excellent reviews from people online about this book. I'm a little bit nervous because it is one of those Booktok really, really hyped books, and I was really, really nervous about picking up something that was so hyped on Booktok. But I kid you not, the response I have gotten from people is outstanding. Like, everyone is talking about how good this series is. I know it's about to be published in a couple of months, like in hardbacks, like with new covers and stuff. Very exciting for the author. Congratulations, Penn Cole. That's very, very exciting. So Spark of the Everflame is definitely on my radar. It's definitely, I need to read it sometime this year. I don't know when, but it's on my TBR. Next book on my TBR that I am so freaking excited for is Where the Library Hides, in the same What the River Knows by Isabel Canis. That's not her freaking last name for the millionth time, Olivia. That's not her last name. It's Ibanez, okay? Isabella Ibanez, okay? I am so fetching excited for Where the Library Hides. Like, you guys don't understand. All I do on this channel, besides recommend SJM, is talk about What the River Knows, which is the first book in this. I don't know if it's gonna be a trilogy or a duology. I think it's probably just gonna be a duology, but like, guys, the cliffhanger at the end of the first book was so insane. I am so excited for Where the Library Hides. It's coming out in November. I am like literally so stoked. I've never been so excited for a book to come out, like, except for maybe House of Flame and Shadow, but still, like, I am absolutely so excited. It's gonna be a great continuation. If you're not familiar with the world, it's essentially like, imagine like Egyptian historical fiction meets like a little bit of magic, meets like archaeology, meets like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. Like, it's very much like those vibes, like almost like Indiana Jones and like I don't know if it's the Lost Ark or the Last Crusaders. It's the first Indiana Jones, like Snakes in a Pit vibes.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
But regardless, I am literally so excited for this book. It is high on my TBR, but I just have to wait till November when it comes out, but I cannot wait. Next book on my TBR that I want to recommend is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed. I am absolutely so excited to read this book. You have no idea. It's high on my list. I'm currently working through some books right now, but like, I really want to read this book so badly because I love Shakespeare. We've talked about this. I am a Shakespeare girl. I am a theater kid, so I love Shakespeare, unfortunately. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm ugly and I'm proud. Louder! I'm ugly and I'm proud.
So I am absolutely so excited to read this dark, like, intense, like, at least the vibes that I've been getting, I don't really know what the book is going to be about. I know it's obviously going to be about like Lady Macbeth, but I really am like intrigued to find out like what's the dark element, like what's like the thing. Is it going to be a fantasy, or is it just going to be like mostly focused in like the true story of Macbeth? Granted though, Macbeth has magic, it has witches, it has all of those things, and so I'm interested to see like what the life is like of Lady Macbeth and read this book. Ava Reed is a phenomenal author. She writes really intense, like dark fantasy. She writes a lot of that, and so I'm assuming this is going to be right up that alley of dark fantasy, and I cannot wait to read it. Next one on the list is, again, another TikTok like blown up book that everyone's talking about. I own the book currently. I've owned it for months, but I kid you not, guys, I cannot bring myself to start reading this book because it is so thick and so intense. It's so high fantasy, and I just like, I know that I need to just like stop what I'm doing and get into it and read the book I need to read. But guys, I'll be honest, I'm like in a mood where I like, my brain is off. I am just reading, like, I'm just easy reading right now, but I need to turn my brain back on and read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. When the Moon Hatched. Look how freaking thick this book is. She's a thick little book.
She's huge, but she's so beautiful. She's a mammoth, of course.
She's thick. I think she's like 900 pages. Yeah, let me see. I'm going to try to check without spoiling it for myself. I'm going to try to be really, really careful because I really don't want to spoil it. Let's see. Okay, 690. But still, okay, maybe I was over-exaggerating a little bit. But like, this is a thick book. 690 pages of dragons. To be honest, I still don't even think I understand what the plot is about. All I know is that it's about dragons and fae, and like, that's it. That's all I know. I really want to read the book, but I literally cannot bring myself to start it because it's so, like, I will be honest, I started the prologue. I read through the whole prologue and I started the first chapter, and immediately I was already confused. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I do not know if I have the brain power to comprehend this. And normally I am like all about my high fantasy, but like, I just need to like turn on and like lock in. So once I read this book, I will let you know what I think. I know so many people love it. They're like, this is the best fantasy book written this year. And I'm like, I'm an idiot because I'm late to the game. I'm late to the train. So I will get on it. I promise I'm going to read this book before the end of the year. Hold me to it, guys. Like, I need help. Next, we have 3 books I will always recommend, 3 books that I am currently always recommending. First, start out with a classic and one not a lot of people know about, All of Us Villains by, it's Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Harriman. So it's a double author kind of dealio. This is such a fun book. I always recommend this because technically I think it's in the YA, but honestly I consider it like at any ages, like any like adult ages can read. All of Us Villains is like modern day Harry Potter meets like a sprinkle of the Hunger Games. It is essentially like families are throw their like essentially like their tribute or like their like champion into like a magical ring where people have like magic powers with like curses and like spells. It's all very like Harry Potter-esque. It takes place in England as well. And like they're thrown into this like essentially like fight for your life and see if you can win the power at the end. Like which family is going to have like the ultimate power at the end of this like tournament essentially. This book is dark. It's gritty. It's brooding. It's one of my favorite things like ever. I don't know why I like it so much. Like I have a friend who read this one and she was seriously like, she's like, why do you like this book? I'm like, I don't know. Okay. I like that it's like twisty and tricksy and I like that there's lots of like, it's very gritty and it's very like everyone in this book is morally gray. Like there's no heroes in this book. Like everyone is morally gray. Everyone's doing bad things. And I kind of like that everyone's a villain. Like it's literally called All of Us Villains. So again, I love this book. I will always recommend it. I'm freaking obsessed. It's so good. Next, we have the recommendation of the century, the one that everyone's been recommending, and I will always recommend, especially for my people who are going through like fantasy withdrawals and they need like a really good fantasy to bring them back. I will recommend One Dark Window Duology by Rachel Gillick. The One Dark Window Duology is flawless. It is absolutely perfect. I'm obsessed with it. One Dark Window has an extremely fun magic system that is so interesting. It has to do with like a deck of cards. By possessing a card, you get its magic and its like strengths, but after you release the card, you get its weaknesses, and there are repercussions for using magic. I'm absolutely obsessed with this book. There's a curse, there's like an age-old plague upon this like kingdom. There's a girl with a nightmare creature in her head, and there's a highwayman who asks for her help. It's very like, again, a very like dark fantasy, but also like not like super dark, but like definitely dark. And there's lots of tricksiness and twistiness. I'm just like living for this new age of like, magic is so new and fun and different now, and there's so many like things you can do with it, and I feel like Rachel Gillick took full advantage of that and created an amazing world with this magic system, and this book is absolutely fabulous. Cannot recommend it enough. And the last book that I cannot stop recommending this year, and I know you're sick of hearing about it, and I will literally give the briefest bit about it. We have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Listen guys, am I just really that girl? Like, I swear I have good taste. I know I have good taste. I know because I recommend good books. But for some reason, whenever I bring up Bride, people on Booktok are always like, people who read Bride, like, have bad taste. Or, like, people who read Bride, like, clearly don't know, like, actual, like, whatever. I'm like, no, guys, Bride is great, okay? People who hate on Bride are losers because literally Bride is perfect, okay? It is an arranged marriage between vampires and werewolves in modern day. I mean, are you kidding me? I will read about Lo Moreland, the sexy alpha werewolf, for the rest of my literal natural days on this earth and never get sick of it. I'm obsessed with Bride. Ali Hazelwood, please, this is the last time. Ali Hazelwood, if you can hear me, please quit your day job of writing about women in STEM and just write paranormal fantasy. Please, I'm begging you, Ali Hazelwood, if you can hear me, please. I need a sequel to Bride more than I need Air or Water.
Please, don't prove I'm right.
Like, I love this book. I cannot recommend it enough. It is such a fun read. Please give Bride a chance if you haven't yet. Now for the 2 books I've given my most recent 5-star reads to, we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a mystery thriller, takes place at essentially an arts college where like the main focus is the study of Shakespeare. Again, Shakespeare, love Shakespeare, theater kid, love theater. This whole book is about drama and theater, and it's
This is where the true expression of the artist is realized, where inner truth is revealed.
all about like these 7 actors who are like best friends in this little group, and they each have their roles to play, and they always get kind of cast in the same things. But when things get shifted and roles get shifted around, like the tides change and someone gets hurt. This book is an incredible mystery thriller. I don't normally recommend mystery thrillers. They're not like high on my list. I'm always like a fantasy girl normally. But this book like changed the game for me. It was moody. It was dramatic. It was dark academia. It was like haunting and Shakespeare and theater. And I just ate it up with everything that it had in it. I absolutely cannot recommend this book enough. I read it very recently. I read it like 2 weeks ago. Haven't stopped thinking about it. It is definitely a 5-star read. It is absolutely fabulous. Next one on the list, we have, obviously, again, a Booktok rated book that everyone is freaking out about currently. And I was like, there's no way this book is going to be good, but I'm going to read it anyway. And guess what? The book was freaking great. It's Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Guys, I hate to freaking admit it, but Callie Hart did good. I hate to admit it, but TikTok was right. TikTok was right. This book is everything. This book is so good. This book made me feel things that I haven't felt in a long time about fantasy books. And it was like, oh my gosh, like fantasy books can be so good. I feel like this year it's been interesting. Like I feel like a lot of the books that have been released this year, everything's been a little bit mid. I haven't had too many 5-star read recommendations, but this book is one of them. And you have to take my word for it. This book is everything. You have the Fae. You have crazy creatures. You have a girl stuck in this desert world and she somehow crosses over into the Fae world and like is learning new things. You have one of the darkest, most brooding, most like locked up iron brain, like you can't get into his head, main male characters I've ever read about. He is dark, he is sick, he is twisted, he is cruel, but I love him. And the more that you get to know him, the more that he opens up and the more that you love him. And I swear, like this book, like the main female MC, I love her. She's everything. She's a total baddie. She just kind of like rolls with the dice. She's like, okay, we're rolling with the tumbling dice. Like I'm just rolling with it. Like I didn't realize, like she's just so cool and calm and collected. She's one of the girls I read about that I'm like, man, I wish I could be her, but I will never be this cool, calm and collected like she is. Love this book. Love Quicksilver. I am so excited for book 2 to come out. It is going to be incredible. This book was seriously like, it's so high on my list of recommendeds. I seriously freaking love this book. Cannot wait for book 2. Please go read Quicksilver. And the final one in our category, book number 1, is the book I am currently reading. I'm currently like 150 pages into, and now I know I'm about to get so many looks from across the camera. I know everyone's gonna be looking at me being like, Olivia, why? Why would you do this to yourself? The book I'm currently reading, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, is I'm reading A Duet with the Siren Duke by Elise Kova.
I have been publicly humiliated for the last time.
I'm like ashamed to admit that I'm reading this. Okay, you know what? I'm not ashamed. I'm not gonna be ashamed, okay? I'm just not. Okay, here's the deal. Elise Kova, I feel like, is a very controversial, like, book person in the book world, okay? She's very controversial because people are like, her writing's not that good, and she writes, like, very, like, quick, easy reads. I mentioned earlier in this video that, like, recently the brain power has been, like my brain power's just kind of, like, you know? And I read Quicksilver, and, like, Quicksilver was so everything, and then I just, like, couldn't get out of my Quicksilver slump. I was in, like, such a bad reading slump, so I needed something to, like, jog me back in, to like get me into just like easy reading. I just needed something. So I started reading. Elise Kova has a 5-book series called, each of the books is a standalone, but it's called Married to Magic. So each book takes place, she has a world created where there's like all these different like lands with different creatures and whatever. And each book focuses like on a couple within like that land. The books can be a little repetitive and the tropes can be a little bit like repeating. But here's the thing. I like them, okay? I like her Married to Magic series. I've read 3 out of the 5. I've read Deal with the Elf King, which I've recommended before, and I've read Dance with the Fae Prince. The one that I just finished like the other night, I literally finished it like 2 nights ago, was A Duel with the Vampire Lord. And now, of course, I'm reading A Duet with the Siren Duke. So now I'm reading a mermaid book.
He still chooses her over me?
She's a fish!
I love mermaids, okay? I love merman. I love sexy merman. Like, so hot, so hot, so hot. I'm actually really liking this one. I think I like this one even more than A Duel with the Vampire Lord, which, like, is saying something because I really am in my vampire era. But I'm really liking this one because this one has, like, really good, like, enemies to lovers. Essentially, the plot of this one is, like, there's a young woman. She's married to this really crappy dude. She decides to, like, run away from home. And when she runs away, she, like, in this land, like, everyone is, like, knows that there's, like, sirens in the water. And there's, like, you know, mer people in the water. And they will sing you their songs to bring you down to their depths and, like, kill you and stuff. So she gets in this boat. She's, like, running away from home. But, like, her boat tips over. She falls in the water. And this man, the Siren Duke, finds her. And he's like, I will give you 5 years. He's like, I'll give you your life back and send you back up to the surface. But he's like, I'll give you 5 years. In 5 years, you have to come back to me. And she's like, okay, sure. So 5 years goes by. She's currently in the midst of, like, she finally is divorced from her crappy husband, but, like, he's still, like on her tail, like, asking for money, and she's, like, trying to save up enough money. But the Siren Duke comes 6 months early from their 5-year deal, and he takes her back down to his kingdom. And she's like, no, like, you were supposed to give me 6 more months. And he's like, I need you now. And she's like, well, you're gonna have to do something for me then. So they're currently, like, working together, like, because he's going to sacrifice her for the greater good, but she needs his help so she can, like, finish things that she needed to finish, like, up above in the real world. I actually am really liking this one a lot. I like the main character a lot. She is, like, her name's Victoria. She's really fun to read about because, like, she's very, like, sassy and, like, full of, like, life and, like, full of, like energy and stuff. Like, when she was, it's so crazy to read from, like, the beginning of the book when she was, like, married to this man versus, like, this part of the book where she's, like, totally different now. Like, it's crazy to see the vibrancy and the kind of person that she is when she's, like, released from this, like, these chains. And I love this, like, there's this huge metaphor of always being, like, caged, and she feels like she's caged and she's trying to, like, break out. I just, like, love the metaphor. I really like the main MC man, Ilreath. I think his name's like Ilreath. I really like it. He's really hot, and he's also just very, like, he has a lot of complexities to him, but there's, like, a lot of, like, enemies to lovers, like, banter. He's, like, very charismatic, but also, like, intense and, like, regal and, like, trying to understand her. They have a very, like, strong connection. I mean, listen, it's, like, basic romantasy, okay? This is true romantasy right here. Like, I know it's just a silly little romantasy and it's about a freaking merman and a girl, but, like, listen, guys, I just needed something, like, cute and sweet and, like, nice to read for, like, a second. And then I'll go back to reading my, like, intense dark fantasy and my, like, high fantasy, like, you know, kind of stuff. Which I need to get back to. I do. But I just wanted to, like, read something, like, nice and silly. And so I'm reading freaking this, like, duet with the Siren Duke. I'm kind of humiliated that I'm sharing this with you all. But listen, I am who I am, and I enjoyed Elise Kova's Married to Magic series. I think her Air Awakened series her Air Awakened series is not for me. It kind of sucks in my opinion, but I love the Married to Magics. I'll read all of them.